2025 Shelby County Sheep Show. Now as I get started here with the Clover Kids up first. Coming into the arena is Quinn Breckhoff. Just a little information on this Clover Kid class. What this is kids that aren't quite old enough to show at the 4-H level, but it still gives them the experience to get in the show ring and gets them working with livestock and gets that love of working with the livestock started. So it's a great program. And at the conclusion of this class, we'll move right into the breeding sheep class. So if we could have your purebred ewe lambs up at the gate, that would be great, followed by your commercial ewes. Hey, Claire.
We get out here in our Clover Kid division. We have a young lady that's a little bit nervous, she said, but she's doing a great job. Her and her sheep Leonardo are out here just having the time of their life at the Shelby County Fair. Let's be sure to give her a big round of applause, and she's going to come back and see us again some other day.
And your grand champion Clover Kid goes to Quinn Breckhoff. And now coming to the arena is your purebred ewe lambs. And we'd like to give a big thank you to our judge, Philip Dottie, who's coming from Maryville, Missouri. He runs a sheep operation and still is very involved in the show ring down in that region.
Yep.
This is a single entry class, so if you can have your commercial ewes at the gate ready to go. And I show 5 entries in that class.
Just a single entry in our purebred division, but one we like a lot of things about. Maybe we'd like to fix a few things here and there, but you love how square she is on both ends. She does take a pretty decent stride when she gets out and moves. I'd like to crack her open from end to end and maybe just relax her in her spine, but a very nice project for the young lady. Let's give her a big round of applause.
And first place in your purebred ewe class goes to Leah Boyson. And joining us handing out these beautiful ribbons is our Shelby County Fair Queen, Brooklyn Buck.
But with that said, I think there's one that excels this particular class quite handily in my opinion. Her balance is impeccable in this particular lineup. I like her foot and feature. I like her back shape. She is huge out of the backside of her shoulder. It carries it all the way out to a wide pin. I think that's just a really logical place to start. I think the sword for me becomes in second and third. I think you could kind of flip these based on priorities. Today we're going to go ahead and lead off with the white pelted one to go ahead and be in second. I like the added extension, the added look. I like the added feature whenever you get out from behind her. She does balance up a little bit better from the side, but where this one excels, the one that comes in third, I love that she has a little bit more in her lower hip. She carries that on and out. I'd like to relax her at her top. She gets a little bit pinched in her forerib, which translates into her rib cage. I just like to go ahead and open her up. The young lady with the natty U does bring us one that's more opened up in the front 1/3 of her skeleton. She's still elegant about her front end. She just runs out of gas from her rear 1/3. I'd like to just go ahead and get out and move. She gets a little higher in her flank and out and out. I would like to go ahead and tell you that I think she does relax better in the spine. I think she's a little structurally freer. I just like to see more of her in the rear 1/3. To round out the class, I think there's a pair of them that are very similar in type and kind. It's honestly hard to kind of sort in terms of where you're at in these. The young man we lead with just brings us one that's a little, or that we put it forth in this particular class, has one that's a little bit bolder about its shoulder, but it's still smoother in terms of where it's at. The one that rounds out the class a little bit more pointy about its shoulder, maybe just a little bit more off at its spine, but a nice pair to round out this particular class. Let's give all these kids a big round of applause.
First place in your commercial U class goes to Olivia Kelly. Second place goes to Jalen Peterson. Third place, Kayla Lund. Fourth place, Chet Boyson. Fifth place, Greta Boyson. Now entering the arena is commercial U's, class 2. I show 3 entries, and please have on deck your commercial use class 3.
I don't know how you do
I'll be the first to admit this class has a little more sort for me. I think there's 3 different completely typing kinds in terms of where they're at. The young lady with the red shirt's the one we're going to lead off with. From the side, I think she's the most structurally correct one in terms of where the angle to her blade and the angle to her hawk are. I would like to go ahead and trim her up. She gets a little bit quick in her pattern for my kind. I think she's a little bit pudgy in terms of where she's at in her condition. But in terms of just basic build, structural correctness, I like that one a great deal. She's definitely the most opened up, biggest penguin in the group. I just like to go ahead and trim her back. I think she's a little bit past her prime in terms of condition score. The young lady brings us one in second that I do appreciate the leanness and length of body in this one. Probably my type and kind a little more in terms of her up and outness. I just like to go ahead and open this one up in relationship to the one ahead of it. But my biggest hang up on this one is when you get out and move, her pin wants to, her neck set wants to drop down in between her shoulder blades. She wants to get a little straight off her back wheels. You can kind of see it right there. She wants to get a little hyperextended on her hop. But a very, very cool when you get back and analyze her from the side. The young lady comes in third. Brings us one that does a lot of good things. It's hard to get a read on her. She's kind of wanting to be fight the young lady of the day. She does a lot of good pieces in terms of her forerib shape. You love the foot and feature all the way to the ground. You may just like to go ahead and maybe just give her a little more pizzazz. When she gets out and moves, she wants to drop about her chest floor. Her neck set probably is better than the one right ahead of it. I just like to go ahead and lean her up with that added muscle and mass. But a nice class nonetheless. Let's give all those kids a big round of applause.
First place in your Class 2 commercial U's goes to Olivia Kelly. Second place goes to Harlan Christensen. And third place goes to Greta Boyson. Now entering the arena is Class 3 commercial U's. And at the conclusion of this class, we will be crowning the champion commercial breeding U.
That's Bo. Yes. I know. Like, literally mine. What is wrong with him? He's okay. But my mom's son is I was like, like, that's what she just. You never know what you get. Yeah. Okay, I see. She likes, I see. Yeah, I see. She's tall too.
A lot of give and take in this particular class, and I don't know if either one of them just hit me extremely hard. I think there's a lot of good pieces in both of these females. When you get back and analyze them, The one that we're going to lead off with, this is a little leaner in terms of its compositional makeup. I like how shallow that one is through the front 1/3. I will admit that she's fighting the young lady wanting to get her neck down in her. It gives her a hard look. When she gets out loose, she does kind of pull it up in her. And when she gets her stuff like that, you do appreciate it. She's fighting the young lady really, really good in terms of just wanting to make sure she's giving her all she can. But I love the hip and hind leg. I love the length of spine in relationship with the one right ahead of it. And just mainly I like its shallowness about its chest floor and how round it is about its cage. The young lady brings us probably the broodier of the two in terms of how they're made. I will grant you that. She's more opened up from end to end. She's definitely stouter about her pin and hip. She is just as greasy or has as much cover as the one right ahead of it. Where I really struggle with this one, she gets out loose. I'd like to shorten her on her blade, lengthen her spine. But that's taking nothing away from a very nice second place sheep. Let's give both of those young kids a big round of applause.
First place out of Class 3 is Carly Christensen. Second place goes to Bristol Loudy. Now entering the arena would be your champion commercial breeding ewe. So I need Carly Christensen, Bristol Loudy, Olivia Kelly, Carly Christensen, Olivia Kelly, and Jalen Peterson. And this is going for the commercial breeding ewe. At the conclusion of this class, we will bring in Leah Boyson, and we will be crowning the grand champion breeding ewe.
Where was I? When? It didn't happen. It would have. Whoever wins this I can do that for you. I do for myself. Have you seen what she makes? Your story, I was like, I'm hitting that person. Well, I read so they're just looking at the shooting. Then she walks.
out here for Supreme Overall Female, and I think, again, low on numbers, high on quality. The kids have been great. I think there's some individuals out of each class. You kind of got to sometimes wonder, with small numbers, what you're going to have presented to you. I think we found some that definitely can check a lot of boxes in terms of structural integrity, has more than enough muscle to make the next generation better in terms of a female, but also go ahead and make those market animals where we're looking for in terms of the back end of this thing. To me, there's one out here that I think kind of excels this particular division. I think it gets really close for a couple others when you start talking about reserve. I think there's one out here that definitely has a little bit more in terms of balance and look, but still has enough muscle and power. Maybe just isn't as lean as some of the other ones, but I also think that definitely has a lot of good parts and pieces to spread the wide way. We're going to go out and select the champion out of that one. We'll bring the second place out of that particular division, give a look for reserve. Let's give these kids a big round of applause as we find your champion for you. We get back out here for reserve overall. I think it gets really close, and I'll just tell you kind of where my mind is. The purebred sheep is a really nice one in terms of just checking a lot of boxes. I'd like to just give her more mass and stoutness all the way through. You start talking about trying to come into contention for this reserve deal. But the one that was second to our champion, I really like that one when you get it propped up from the side. She's elegant about her front end. She's right in her hip and hind leg. Where I struggle with that one is when you get her out on the move. She wants to get a little bit high in her spine. She wants to get a little tight and full on us today. But that one takes a really good picture. She has a lot of really good breeding pieces in terms of where she's at. She definitely comes in contention to me for this particular honor of reserve. The one that comes in class 3, again, like we kind of said in class, I like that one in terms of checking all the boxes, just build square. She's moderate in her makeup, maybe not my speed. I'd like to elevate her at the point of the shoulder, maybe make her a little more feminine. She does have what I was talking about as a polar opposite of maybe a couple of these others. She is more opened up and things of that nature. I just don't know if she's ladylike enough for me today in terms of where she's at in her condition. The young lady out of class 4 is the other one, in my opinion, that kind of comes in contention. There's times where I get a look at this one I really like. I love how she gets and flexes and moves. She's better in her spine. Where I struggle with this one is in her front end design. She wants to drop down in her chest bone and her neck tuck ever so slightly. When the young lady does get her stuff, you do appreciate a lot of things about her. She definitely handles it fresh and firm as anything out here today. She has as much muscle and freshness in terms of where it's at. To me, it gets close between her and the second place one. To me, I think today, just for where they're at, I'm going to go ahead and use the young lady out of class 4 for reserve. I just like the added muscle and masculinity that that one has. Let's go ahead and give these kids a big round of applause.
All right, congratulations to your grand champion overall breeding. You goes to Olivia Kelly. And Reserve Grand Champion breeding ewe goes to Harlan Christensen. And Olivia Kelly will be representing Shelby County at the Best of the West for breeding ewes. We do have an addition to the show bill. We are running a purebred sheep class. That's not on your show bill, but we are running a purebred sheep class, and that is Miss Youngcom. And for those who don't know, the Best of the West is a show in Denison where there are 9 different counties involved in that, and we take the grand champions from each county fair, and they have a final drive up in Denison, and that is in about 3 weeks. So congratulations to Miss Kelly.
I didn't see this photo.
Just a single entry in our purebred market lamb division, one that definitely checks a lot of boxes in terms of breeding where he's at. He's opened up. He has more than enough muscle. He's not quite mature enough and massive enough right now. You cut some of that hair off, or when he does shuck it, you'll definitely tell that he's not quite market ready. But that's one that you got to appreciate a lot for his basic build, his structural correctness. Let's give that young lady a big round of applause.
Congratulations to Callie Youngkin in her purebred sheep class. Now moving into the white breed market lambs. I showed 2 entries. Please have on deck your black bay market lambs.
And they don't split, they don't. Oh, okay. They don't split. Oh, other livestock. Set them up to walk around.
Ready? You tell me when. Surprised we come out 5 holes? By far one of the more difficult placings for me today because these things are polar opposites of each other in terms of where they're at. I think you could go either way. I think this will be a very close cut whenever you start analyzing it. For me, I'm going to go with the one that's just a little bit trimmer in terms of its makeup today. The young man with the piebald sheep brings this one to big back. I love how fresh that one handles over the top side of its skeleton. It's definitely got a firmer, fresher touch. I will say he's not as wide a loin as the one that's going to come in second, but he has more stifle and lower leg, and it's probably longer loin in terms of where he's at. I would just like to go ahead and add some more, drop some more lower twist in this particular guy. I love the stifle shape. I love the freshness and leanness that that one possesses. The young lady brings us the south down appearing one that comes in second. You love the added dimension that this one has in its rib shape. I just think that there's a lot more white muscle on this one in terms of just where this one's at. I do like how elegant it is about its front end. I just runs out of gas on the backside of this one, skeleton and relationship, but a very, very nice one, very tough class. Let's give both of those kids a round of applause.
Congratulations to Chet Boyson, winning the Whiteface Market Lamb class, and second place is Kayla Lund. Now entering the arena is the Blackface Lightweight Market Lamb. And please have on deck your Blackface middleweights. We are fortunate enough here today to have the Shelby County Fair Queen Brooklyn Buck and the first runner-up, Carly Cornayton, handing out ribbons. So thank you to those girls.
It was worth it. Okay. My hair was like done. Did you dye it? Yeah. That's weird. Mine's not dark. Yours got light. It just went out on the side. You need to turn your hair again. You buzzed it last time. I'm gonna buzz it off again. That's an easier haircut because you buzz it.
What a nice way to lead off our lightweight market division. I think this ULAM brings us one that's just huge, shapely back. I love the freshness of touch. I like a lot of parts and pieces about this female. She's tall-shouldered. If you wanted to pick on her just a little bit, you like to shorten her blade, deep in her flank. Love her hip shape. Love this raw terminal shape she has on the top side of her skeleton. A very logical place to lead off for me today. To me, the sort that comes in second, third again in this particular class. There's one that's a little bit bigger, one that maybe just a little more structurally correct on his front end. I think both of these need some more time on feet to go ahead and mass up, open up in their skeleton. The young lady in the green shirt, the one we're going to go ahead and lead with in second. I love the foot feature in this one. Biggest thing I like is I like where its neck set in relationship to its blade. I think it transitions, just needs more day on feet. The young lady brings us one that is finishing out this class. We like a lot of parts and pieces. Again, I love the added extension and length. I love the height of the shoulder. I'd like to just see this one have more in its lower shorts and opened up from end to end to go ahead and compete. Biggest thing is I'd like to take that one's neck and just set it right up on the top side of its blade. But a nice set nonetheless. Let's give all those kids a big round of applause.
First place in the lightweight Blackface Market Lambs goes to Harlan Christensen. Second place, Peyton Brokoff. Third place, Leah Boyson. Coming in the arena now is our middleweight Blackface Market Lambs.
We have
Please have at the gate your heavyweight black-faced market lamb class 1.
It's gonna happen to him about Monday.
Interesting class, but to me this one kind of sorts fairly easily in my mind. I think the one that wins just does so quite handily in my opinion. I love his look, I love his design. He still handles with the biggest, freshest top, or especially the freshest top, maybe not the widest top. His length of body is second to none in this particular class. Love his foot and feature, love his look and design. Just a very logical one for me to lead off with. The young lady brings this one in second, I think falls so quite handily in my opinion. Again, I love how opened up this one is. I love how stout, big, racked, and big top he is. I'd like to just maybe shallow this one up about his chest for lengthening him out just a little bit, but a very nice one to go ahead and land in second. The problem sheet for me comes in third. Nobody can deny the amount of muscle and product that this one has. He just gets way too jammed up and straight on both ends for me. I'd like to give him in a bigger package. I'm not quite sure that that one doesn't have an F in his pedigree, but he does have a lot of muscle and mass. I'd like to just go ahead and give him a little more structure to go with it, maybe a little more look. The young lady's doing a very nice job. The young lady that comes in next to this class brings us one that's long spine, tall shouldered. I'd like to just go ahead and make him a little looser on both ends of his skeleton. He wants to get straight, especially when you study him at the ground out of his rear hop, but definitely has more added advantage in terms of width and power than the one that's going to round out the class. But a very nice one to go ahead and round out this class in terms of hitting the basics of the build. I like the look and the design of this one. I'd like to shallow her up about her chest more, just give her more foot and feature, just more oomph as a market lamb all the way through. But again, let's give this class a big round of applause.
First place and champion middleweight market lamb goes to Sienna Michaels. Reserve champion middleweight market lamb goes to Leah Boyson. Third place goes to Peyton Breckoff. Fourth place goes to Kayla Yunkin. And fifth place goes to Kayla Yunkin. Now entering the arena would be Class 1 heavyweights, black-faced market lambs. And I show 3 entries in this class. Please have on deck your Class 2 heavyweight blackface market lambs.
I see bobby pins. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. No, they're gonna be brown though. Okay. I know, that's what I had. Those are the ones I had. I had ones from prom, and they lasted like 2 years. Like I salvaged all of them. I think I have less. Yeah, I literally
sound like a broken record in this particular class, but I think these top 2 are very, very good. They're complete opposites of each other, therefore you kind of got to study it. There's parts and pieces I would love of either one of these things. To me, it gets down when they get out and motor. The blue sheep that's going to lead off this class just kind of collects himself ever so slightly better, especially in his top line. I love it when he gets out and moves. He just kind of glides around the ring. He's not the biggest framed or maybe the shallowest chested in relationship to the one that's going to come in second, but he definitely has more freshness over the top side of his skeleton, and he definitely holds his top side skeleton together when he gets out and moves. I would like to tell you I'd like to show his blade in relationship to the rest of it, but a very, very, very good one to land to win this particular class. Young lady, this one that comes in second, I love this guy. I love his foot, I love his feature, I love his look and design. Again, much like with the U-Lamb that we had earlier, he just wants to get off in his spine ever so slightly. When you get him out on the move, he really wants to get high in his top a little bit. His biggest thing is he's just a little bit past his prime in terms of his handle today. He's a little scaler in terms of where he's at condition-wise. I think you trim that one back a little bit, just get him a little bit out and move. I like that guy a great deal. That's a really good one to be standing in second. The young lady that comes in 1 and third, one we like a lot of carcass qualities about. This is the freshest handling, definitely the leanest one in the particular group. With that, she is the deepest about her chest floor. She is the lightest about her muscle in terms of her rear 1/3, but a very good one nonetheless. Could have won the last particular class. I like all of those three very, very well. Let's give these three young individuals a big round of applause.
Congratulations to Olivia Kelly winning the Class 1 Heavyweight Blackface Market Lamb. Second place goes to Jalen Peterson. Third place goes to Sienna Michaels. Now entering the arena is Class 2 Heavyweight Blackface Market Lambs. And please have Olivia and Jalen by the gate to come back in for the champion heavyweight.
That works great for me. We can make it work.
Again, we would like to extend our gratitude or thank you to our judge today, Philip Dottie. He's coming to us from Maryville, Missouri.
I have my phone over there. If you want to call me. I actually don't know the phone. Several times.
These heavier weights, there's definitely some sort in these things. I'll be the first to tell you none of these handle as fresh as I would like them. I think they all push a little more cover than ideal. The young lady brings us probably the most balanced up, fault-free one of the bunch. I think he just kind of checks all the boxes. He's good about his shoulder. He's tall enough about his blade. I like his hip and hind leg. I think where he excels the class by quite a bit in terms of where he's at. His stifle shape and lower and rear end are just elite in terms of the rest of these that are out here. Very logical one to go ahead and lead off the class. The young lady brings us one that's hard to get a read on. Again, he's one to be kind of fighting the young lady. We'll lean back and analyze him from the side. I think he's the next best one when you get behind him. He doesn't run out of gas in terms of the lower part of his skeleton. I would like to go ahead and just maybe open that one up ever so slightly in his forearm. I think it'd translate on back. The young lady brings us one that probably is more opened up in its design and makeup. I like those things about it. It definitely has a cool silhouette. That one is by far the farthest along in terms of its staleness. It definitely has the most white muscle on that one in terms of where it's at. I just like to trim that one back. I think you trim that one back, we're talking about a whole other animal. It just makes it look a little plain for me today. The young man that rounds out this class brings us one that is trimmer in terms of where it's made. I will grant you that. I just like to see this one have a little more show ring pizzazz, especially through the front 1/3 of this one. He doesn't carry it all the way to the ground. I like to open him up, but he handles fresh and firm. Very nice one for the young man. Let's give them a big round of applause.
And your winner of your Class 2 heavyweight blackface is Olivia Kelly. Second place goes to Greta Boyson. Third place goes to Kendra Robinson. And fourth place goes to Chet Boyson. Now entering the arena would be your Class 1 heavyweight winner and Class 1 second place winner, and also your Class 2 winner and your Class 2 reserve. We're going for the champion heavyweight market lamb and reserve champion heavyweight market lamb.
Back out here for our champion heavyweight drive, and I think four individuals that maybe not a lot of high numbers, but in terms of quality, I think there's definitely some that rise to the top. To me, there's just two out here that definitely excel these particular four. The two out of the first class will be Grand and Reserve. Look forward to seeing them back in the overall. Let's give these kids a big round of applause.
And your grand champion heavyweight market lamb goes to Olivia Kelly. And your reserve heavyweight market lamb goes to Jalen Peterson. Now entering the arena would be your going in for your grand overall market lamb and your grand overall and your reserve grand overall market lamb.
Big grand dry speech, but I mean, I think there's a very nice representation for your county fair out here. I think there's some individuals we maybe not won their particular class. They can sure compete in a lot of places. I enjoy getting the opportunity to sort livestock, especially the sheep and goat divisions, and work with kids. And I taught ag for 18 years, and now I raise club lambs for a living with my family. We do this pretty competitively, or try to, all over the state of Missouri and Iowa. In fact, we were just up here last weekend for your open jackpot. Had a great time. This community has been very, very welcoming for our family and everything. We enjoy coming up here and showing at the open show. But we get back out here, I think all of these kids deserve a huge round of applause before I say any more. I'm not going to talk through every one of these. I think there's quality in them, there's structural integrity, there's muscularity. They also have to have some look. I mean, the age-old question is, you know, muscle, yes, it is a market show, but we forget when it's a market show, we're not just hanging these things on the rails. We want to make it a carcass show, then we need to do that. I think a market show is also, the word show is in there. They have to have some look, some design, some structural integrity. We're trying to make the most ideal one we can, but still put enough muscle in them to make them elite enough to go ahead and compete or hang on the rail. To me, there's a couple out here that hit me pretty hard. They came in class together, they came through division together, they're going to stay together. The two out of the heavyweight class will be our grand reserve. Let's give these girls a big round of applause.
And congratulations, your grand champion overall market lamb goes to Olivia Kelly. And your reserve grand champion overall market lamb goes to Jalen Peterson. Olivia Kelly will represent Shelby County in the Best of West shootout in a couple weeks in Tennessee. We'll go ahead and do Ready Gain right now. Kendra Robinson, champion Ready Gain at .89. Reserve was Chet Boyson with .84. And Greta Boyson with .79. Olivia Kelly was 4th and 5th with .75 and .70. We'll go ahead and do the Bud Christensen Memorial Award right now. It's to an outstanding junior member. This year it's Greta Boyson. Now entering the arena, we're going to be doing our senior showmanship. I show 4 entries. And please have on deck your intermediate showmanship. this portion of the show is called showmanship, where the judge is actually judging on how the kids handle their livestock. The previous classes have been on muscle and skeleton and all that good stuff. They've been judging the animal in itself. This particular class, the judge judges the handler. In the arena now in senior showmanship is Kendra Robinson, Leah Boyson, Kayla Lund, and Jalen Peterson.
As I stated in the GOAT show, showmanship is awesome for the kids to participate. It can make or break in terms of you can make a nice animal great, or you can make a great animal just average based on the showman. But at the same time, it is a tough thing to do because it's personal preference. It's like livestock evaluation in general. But to me, I don't mind telling a sheep that I don't think is quite good enough. I will never tell a kid that. I think all these kids are doing an excellent job in terms of just the participation. It takes a lot of work, whether you're talking just today, you're talking in the week, or whatever. We worked through some of these divisions. I'll be the first to tell you that I got a 12-year-old at home that definitely doesn't think that I'm very smart at showmanship evaluation. And I will tell you that probably any parents ringside, your particular showman out here probably would listen to anybody but you. That's exactly what happens with me when I go home. With that being said, I think there's a couple out here that rise to the top. Maybe one just is getting a little bit longer, getting along better today. Their dance partner is maybe cooperating a little bit. But I think that there's a couple individuals that do a really good job, not to take anything away from the other ones. To me, the champion senior showman is going to be this young lady on the end. Our reserve will be the young lady on the other end.
Congratulations goes to Kendra Robinson on your champion senior showman. The reserve champion senior showman goes to Jalen Peterson. Now entering the arena is intermediate showmanship. class, so it's going to go quick.
On the polar opposite of our senior division, I think I can get this one correct, and not too many people can argue with me. We only have the one individual out here in our intermediate division, but he does a very good job and can stand a lot of competition. I really particularly like when you walk. I've noticed all day, when you walk, you do a good job of staying in line with that lamb's shoulder, not getting out in front of it. Some of our kids today got out in front of it, it's causing the lamb to pull back. I would like to see a little more natural when you're on the side brace, which you do a very good job. Let's give this young man a big round of applause. He deserves to be our champion intermediate showman.
And your champion intermediate showman goes to Chet Boyson. Coming into the arena now is your junior showmanship. I show 4 entries. In the arena now, showing for junior showmanship is Kayla Youngkin, Greta Boyson, Olivia Kelly, and Peyton Brokaw.
Hi, boys. Hi, Kala. That's for apple pie morning.
Out here for junior division, 4 individuals doing a nice job. The one young lady's been fighting this ewe-lamb all day, but she's sure doing a good job sticking with it. I think there's a couple individuals out here that definitely excel this particular division as well, not to take anything away from them. I think there's one out here that just does a really, really smooth job in terms of always hitting the right spot, always having that lamb kind of settled. Definitely has a lot more participation with his partner. The lamb's definitely cooperating a little bit. The other young lady I can remember back in class, and I remembered I was hoping that this person didn't, or that they came back out for showmanship, because I want to point out something for our reserve champion showman. This girl's hand placement is ideal. I love where it's at up on the hip and jaw, right where it makes that thing look more extended than it possibly is. If anybody wants to pay attention to where I think the hand placement should be, I think we need to take a look at our reserve champion showman. Not to take anything away from our champion, because they do an excellent job. But let's take a look. The young lady in red is going to be our champion. This young lady in green right here is going to be our reserve.
And your champion junior showman goes to Olivia Kelly, and your reserve champion junior showman goes to Peyton Brokoff. Now entering the arena is your grand overall showman. Jalen Peterson, Chet Boyson, Olivia Kelly, and Peyton Brokoff. And we are going to be crowning the champion overall showman and the reserve champion overall showman. And as we conclude today, I would also like to extend our thank you to Philip Dottie for judging this sheep show and the goat show. He's coming to us from Maryville, Missouri. And I'd also like to say thank you to our Shelby County Fair Queen, Brooklyn Ruck, and the first runner-up, Carly Tornate, for handing out all the ribbons and banners. So thank you to everyone involved.
Last time I get to speak on the mic today, and again I want to thank the opportunity I've had to come up the last couple of years. Great fair, great people. The ring people are great. The people that have been helped around getting things put together have been great. I can smell it, and I remember the barbecue last year was pretty good too, so kind of looking forward to that. But we start getting out here, we talk about kids later. I'm going to do something just a little bit different. I'm going to kind of talk through what I think on all these kids, because they all deserve their time in the sun. This young lady up here at the front, I love her front end posture. She does not distract when she's up in the front end of this sheet. I love the way her arms are up. She's intense enough. I maybe like to see a little bit more intensity out of her, but she does a very, very good job not taking away from the front end of that sheet. He's wanting to kind of step back on her every once in a while, but she has done a good job maintaining composure. The young lady that was reserve in our senior division, no one else out here gets a stick on the front end of the sheet as well as this young lady. When she gets that thing propped up, she definitely has that thing in all the right places. Its legs right on the corners. Maybe just like to go ahead and just maybe, she wants to cover up the front end a little bit more than my liking, but a very, very, very good showman that can make that thing look ideal most of the time. Every once in a while that thing wants to fight. We talked about the young man in the intermediate division. He does something really well, probably excels the rest of this group. If anybody watches him when he walks around, he stays behind the front of that shoulder of that sheep better than anyone else out here. He does a good job when he gets it out on the move. I would like to see him get a little more intense and around on the front side of that thing, get his hand placement up, but I love how he gets out and moves. The young lady in red does a great job of combination of things. She has that thing propped up in all the right places. She does a nice job out of the move. One thing, it's a personal preference. When you get out and move, I'd like to see you try to see if you can get that thing to go with one hand instead of the hand on the back of the head. It just takes away from the sheep ever so slightly, but it works for you. You do a very, very nice job. The young lady that comes in last. I said it on the microphone, and I hope everyone around ringside can see what I'm talking about. I love how she gets the hand up on the jaw of that sheep. Takes away. That sheep is not a long-fronted, tall shoulder type of thing, but the way she gets the neck up out of that thing, gets his hand up, definitely helps the look of that lamb. I love her hand placement. I love where it's at. With that said, all these kids deserve a huge round of applause. Thank you for having me. Cherish every opportunity. It's been great. For me, we only can pick two. The young lady in the red will be champion. The young lady on the green will be reserved. Let's give this one to
And a big congratulations goes to Olivia Kelly in the Grand Overall Showman. And Reserve Grand Overall Showman goes to Kendra Robinson.
Once again, I'd like to thank Bill for judging our show again today. And that would conclude the Sheep and Goat show this morning.